What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Action Packed Sunday. Now, this week, in light of Oscar season lately, which kind of was last Sunday or so, I'm going off with an Oscar-worthy action-packed Sunday. So, of course, yes. Yes, I know what you're thinking. An Oscar wing? Yes. Today I'm looking at The French Connection. It won Best Picture back in 1971. It was also nominated for 5 other awards, including Best Actor, Director, Film Editing, Screenplay, and of course, obviously, Best Picture, actually. Of course, it won Best Picture, actually. This was directed by William Friedkin and starred Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider, actually. And believe it or not, this movie was based on a true story, actually. So, if you guys want me to tell about the plot of the movie, or do you want me to tell you about the plot of the actual story? So, I'm going to give you a little bit with both, actually. So, the real story is that back in 1961, New York detectives Eddie Egan and Sonny Grasso busted a heroin smuggling ring in Brooklyn, actually, and they seized close to, I kid you not, 112 pounds of heroin, actually. Though that is the biggest amount of drugs they've ever busted in that time period. And supposedly, according to lore, is that the leader of this operation was a drug kingpin named Jean Jihan, actually. Though he was never convicted or arrested, but all evidence pointed towards him, and supposedly that's all this becomes inspiration for the story, actually. And how ironically is that the real life, the New York detectives, Egan and Sonny Grasso, do make appearances in this movie, actually, but not as themselves. They play minor characters, actually. But essentially the characters in the movie are Jimmy Doyle and Buddy Russo, actually. So yeah, it's really interesting, actually. And just how the story and the movie, are the same. Eddie Egan was nicknamed Popeye, actually, and so that's the name where he's given to Jimmy Doyle. His name is Popeye, actually, and of course, good Lord, Gene Hackman just delivers this role with so much grace and so much grit. It's like, wow, you just love to hate this guy, actually, and man, what a good tandem between him and Roy Scheider, actually, and this was a little bit before Jaws ever took off, actually, and yeah, like Roy Scheider's acting chops were really good, actually. As for the set, I will say, yeah, holy shit. The setting of New York really hits home here. It's absolutely amazing. Cinematography is just great, actually, even though it wasn't really nominated for that. But everything else was just perfect, actually. But of course, let me tell you what makes this movie so epic, besides the thrilling story and somewhat of the action, and that is this was famous for a good car chase, actually. And believe it or not, it was actually filmed in New York, actually. I don't want to give too much of the story away, but at one point, Gene Hackman commandeers a civilian's car, and he's trying to chase down a hitman who has essentially escaped onto an elevated train, actually. And supposedly it's a one epic chase down a Brooklyn street, actually, which, believe it or not, they did not get permission to film in that part of the city, actually. So apparently what you saw on screen was 100% pure real-time almost footage of what actually happened that day, actually. And yes, all the collisions, that all was part of the, and ended up being part of the movie. It worked to a T, and in my opinion, that just do it at home, make it more realistic, actually. And my goodness, you guys see this car chase for yourself, actually. Even people have listed this on the top 10 best car chases ever, actually. Right up there with with movies like Bullets and Duel with that movie by Steven Spielberg, which possibly in our future review, actually. Who knows? But I'd say if you have not seen this movie, you totally should. It is a true Oscar-worthy good movie. I can't believe it. And of course, there are some really good lines, actually, especially coming from Gene Hackman, actually. The one famous line that always sticks to me is, "Have you picked your feet in Poughkeepsie?" Or something like that. I'm like, yeah. It's like one of the earliest lines said in the movie, actually. So if you've not seen this movie, you gotta check this out, actually. But of course, since the topic of the French Connection, I'll talk about the sequel. Actually, believe it or not, there was a sequel. the French Connection too. But we're not. This entire story was completely whole work of fiction, actually, because spoilers ahead. This movie kind of ends on a cliffhanger, actually. Okay, but of course, I really didn't. I really felt the sequel was all unnecessary, but I think they just wanted to bring things full circle and just tie up in a nice little bow. Actually, the sequel is all right. But it's like, but Gene Hackman is just completely out of his limits. Roy Scheider's not nowhere in this movie, and supposedly the story takes place all the way over in Paris, actually, or in France, actually, pretty much on the Riviera. And there's a really disturbing moment where I don't want to give too much away, but it does involve some of the narcotics that are being dealt, actually. But yes, finally, the film gets its due, actually. But yeah. But that's not how real life happened. In real life, Jean Jihan actually died peacefully in his home in Corsica, actually. The real life villain, actually. In the movie, he was played by Fernando Rey, actually, but his name was Alan Charnier in this movie, actually, instead of Jean Jihan. So, yeah, why they, of course, obviously, they change up the story, the names to avoid, confusion with the real life counterparts. But hell, it is a definitely compelling story, especially the movie. I really enjoy it. You gotta check it out. If you can pick up a copy of the book, if you can find it, I'd say go luck. You might get a little kick out of that. But definitely, this is definitely an Oscar-worthy performance, and I've enjoyed this movie time after time. Actually, you gotta see this movie. Okay, so that does it for today. As for the sequel, not so much. So my final score, I'm going to give the French Connection. I'm going to give the French Connection 9 out of 10, actually. And as for its bastard sequel, I'm going to give that a 6, which was a little unnecessary, but hell, at least it give us some entertaining moments. Okay, so that does for today. Hope you enjoyed this Action Sunday pseudo double feature. Thumbs up the video if you like it. Comment below, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for some more awesome videos.